Hello everyone, Fisgus here. I hope we're all doing well. This is not normally the type of video you've come to expect from me, but with what has been going on in the flight sim genre, and after the leaked Zoom call between ED's leadership and Razbam leadership, and as a former player of DCS owning several modules, even one Razbam module, the Mirage 2000C, I felt like adding my 2 cents. I'm sorry if this is not the content that you enjoy from me, and if you don't feel like watching this, that's okay. But I feel like I need to do this. I'm doing this to get what I feel about DCS off my chest in a, hopefully, coherent way. Often, in the comments of my videos and during my live streams, I get asked about DCS, whether I've played it before, and what my thoughts are. Before going any further, I would like to reference Enigma's video. He has a deeper insight about the inner workings of DCS, the behind-scenes stuff, than I do and ever will have. I will link his video in the description below. Please go watch it. My own perspective and contact with DCS is no different from your own, a normal customer with no access to the dev teams or leadership. Enigma has had that, so again, go give his video a watch. A little bit about my history with DCS. I went over to DCS from BMS with a large part of the community I was with at the time, the first Virtual Fighter Wing, back in the spring of 2018, just before the Hornet was released in DCS. Looking back on it now, personally, it was a mistake on several levels, but at least it gave me some insight into the product and the company behind it. From the start, it all felt very fishy. For example, the egregious issues took forever to even be recognized as such by ED, and some were even outright denied. It took a lot of pressure for some of these issues to be addressed and resolved, if they ever were. Many remain in a state of, we'll get to it soon, for years. I was around for the Hornet's release, and while it was good to finally see it out, there were many issues that took way longer than they should have to be resolved. In the following year, the F-16, the aircraft I really prefer flying, came out. That release was an absolute travesty. It didn't even have a damage model. So the only way to shoot one down was to snipe the pilot in the cockpit directly, otherwise it was invincible. The weapons that had been shown on promotional material, like the Harm and the Maverick, were not implemented, and remained like that for an entire year. Many of the systems in the DED and the MFD were missing. The DTC feature, which is essential to operating the aircraft, was missing. It took them all the way to April 2025 to have a basic implementation of this system. That's 6 years. There were issues with the aircraft's flight performance, among many others. ED, as a company, was happy enough to deliver a product in the deplorable state that it was. The apologies came soon after, but the F-16 sat around not seeing much dev time for quite a while, and remained broken for far too long. And yet, this was sold as a full fidelity module, a phrase that seems to have lost its meaning in the world of DCS early access. I was around for the following year when discussing the supercarrier. ED was asked if owning the supercarrier was a requirement to joining a server running the module. They said that it was. Think about it. If you were someone flying the F-16 or the A-10 or another aircraft, and you had no interest in naval aviation whatsoever, you would be forced to own a module that you did not want if you wanted to play on a server that was running a supercarrier module. When that was not the case, if the server was running an aircraft module that you didn't own. The community backlash was tremendous, to the point that ED was forced to backtrack and implement a light version of the supercarrier that users who didn't own the module would see when they joined the server. Speaking of the supercarrier, it has severe issues, which still plague it to this day from my understanding. This wasn't just about one module. It's a symptom of the larger problem with how the company treats its customers and its partners. For all the new modules, the core of the game itself has stood still. The AI is still a mess, the ATC is atrocious, and the dynamic campaign, a feature that would make the simulator truly incredible, has been promised for over a decade. It's clear that the focus is on releasing new, monetized content and not fixing the foundation that everything else is built on. I was around to experience too many patches that tried to fix one thing but severely broken aircraft, systems, and weapons that had no issues prior to the patch. For years, ED would mess up, promise to do better, to be more transparent. They even had official roadmaps, only to fail to deliver on them. Eventually, they stopped releasing them altogether, blaming the community's toxicity for their own shortcomings. For a company that claims to value its community, their official forums operate like a dictatorship. Criticism, even when polite and constructive, is often deleted. And users are banned for speaking out against the company, sometimes even for things they've said on other websites. It's an environment that punishes honesty and discourages meaningful discussion. This censorship isn't confined to their own forums either. The subreddit r/Hoggit, while unofficial, has a reputation for being overly protective of ED. The moderators there are often accused of removing threads and comments that are too critical, creating a misleadingly positive Hoggit bubble. It's a place where it feels like even the community itself is working to protect the company from warranted criticism, further cementing the lack of transparency. I could go on. These are only some of the issues I could think of off the top of my head. There are many more that I don't recall. I left DCS in late 2022 when BMS released update 4.37, and I'm happy that I did. I was tremendously frustrated with DCS and ED's handling of the project. While I kinda have been keeping up with DCS in the background, as many of my viewers know, my focus has shifted to Falcon BMS almost entirely. Like I said before, ED's handling of DCS felt very dodgy to me during the time I played it, but now I watched the leak meeting between Nick Gray, Pablo, and Ron. I had no idea it was this bad. The way Nick Gray carries himself, talking about how he withheld payment for the F-15E from Razbam as leverage, about how he's managed to conduct business in Eastern Europe without being shot in the head, and how at one point he outright threatens Ron, saying that people who mess with him pay a very heavy price. This all sounds like a mob boss talking. The entire thing is shocking. And then the things that Enigma himself brings up in his own experience running a server, talking directly to the devs and to Nick Gray, it paints a very ugly picture. I own several DCS modules. I most likely will never play them again. I'm sure many of you who are watching are owners of several modules yourselves. Back when we purchased these modules, we had no idea this is how Nick Gray and ED conducted their business. We were uninformed. This behavior from ED's leadership should not be surprising, really, when you consider the company's Russian origins. While Eagle Dynamics is officially based in Switzerland, it was founded in Moscow, and much of its development team remains in Russia. So please don't even come at me with the usual ED is a Swiss company now nonsense. For a company to conduct business in such a heavy-handed, almost threatening way mirrors the very autocratic and aggressive behavior we've seen from the Russian government, particularly in its illegal war of aggression against Ukraine. The lack of transparency, the deflecting of blame, the hostile corporate culture revealed by the leaked call are in many ways an extension of the Russian business environment and an example of the kind of tactics a company with such roots might employ. And if it wasn't clear enough at this point, I stand with Ukraine. Russian viewers, feel free to leave. The leaked Razbam call wasn't a one-off. There's a long history of problems between ED and its third-party developers. Over the years, we've seen developers leave, citing issues with contracts and lack of support. This creates a risk for all users. A module you buy today could be abandoned tomorrow. The best example of this is the Hawk module from VEAO. It was sold, then completely abandoned when the developer left. It became non-functional with the updates, and many people were left with a broken product and no refund. This is the kind of risk we all took unknowingly when we purchased these modules. I'm well aware you could request a refund for the F15E, but it's store credit that they'll give you, not a refund of your actual payment back to your bank account. For all intents and purposes, they are still keeping your money. That's extremely scummy. And how ironic is it that the F16E took that long to develop to only last an entire year with support after it was released? I know that a lot of people buy modules from ED because DCS is the only simulator that offers aircraft that certain people love, like the Phantom or the Hornet or the upcoming Eurofighter. I'm sorry if this offends you, but if after having this information very clearly available to you, you still go and buy modules from DCS and Eagle Dynamics, and using a very poor analogy maybe, you are buying lemonade from a group of gangsters who run a lemonade stand, but you are well aware that they're robbing people all over town. But since they're the only ones selling lemonade, and you really enjoy the lemonade, you look the other way. I don't care if DCS and ED are the only place where you can fly a certain aircraft that you totally love in a full fidelity way. You are giving your money to a company that behaves like this, financing this behavior, just so you can get your fix? Do you really need to fly whatever aircraft it is? If you have a problem with what I said, the dislike button is right there, and the unsubscribe button is close to it as well. Again, my apologies to my subscribers. This is not the type of video you're used to seeing from me, but I felt I had to do this one, even if it was just for my own sake. Again, a huge thank you to Enigma for covering this issue like he did, and for sharing his own very valuable insight. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.